Every instance of the police discovering a body sends a wave of despair through Katie. For her, the possibility that any unidentified child might be her granddaughter or any unidentified woman her daughter is a constant source of anguish. The nightmare for the elderly woman and her husband began in 2007, and today life is akin to living through a perpetual nightmare. It all started when Chantelle McDougall, a 30-year-old woman, her 6-year-old daughter Leela, her boyfriend Simon Cadwell, 45, and family friend Tony Popick, 42, mysteriously vanished from the once quiet Australian town of Nannup. Cult. Chantelle McDougall embodied optimism from her early years, choosing to mask challenges with a perpetually cheerful smile that illuminated her good-natured face. Despite encountering difficulties, she never voiced complaints. At the age of 19, Chantelle's path crossed with Simon, marking the onset of what many described as her discovery of happiness. Even though Simon possessed eccentricities, Chantelle's parents, residing in Victoria, made a monthly effort to visit their daughter and her common-law husband in Nannup. Their initial encounter with Cadwell left a lasting impression. He asked me what planet I was from. My daughter burst into laughter upon seeing my reaction and confessed that Simon belonged to a different faith, harboring aspirations to change the world one day, reminisced Kathy, Chantelle's mother. To elaborate, Simon assumed the role of leader in a religious cult predominantly known online as the Community of Truth. Referred to as C by followers, he authored a book titled Servants of the Divine Plan, outlining his belief that at the end of the 75,000th cycle, a new world order will be established on Earth, and a higher consciousness will descend. Those who join the movement will find salvation. Oddities. Initially, Chantelle's parents overlooked Simon's idiosyncrasies, prioritizing his treatment of their daughter and his role as a loving father to their granddaughter. However, as the years passed, his peculiarities began to grate on them. I remember on one of our visits, I pulled out my phone to capture a picture of him with Leela. He leaped towards me, snatched the phone, and fervently whispered, "No, don't. The camera will steal my soul," reminisces Katie. Over time, the McDougalls found themselves encountering their son-in-law less frequently. During their visits, he would often seclude himself in a room with his closest companion and chief follower, Tony Popick. Passport. The McDougalls' final encounter with their daughter and granddaughter took place in July 2007. During that visit, I had this unsettling feeling that something was amiss. Simon's demeanor was peculiar, and just looking at him gave me goosebumps. I can't recall the exact day, but we were all gathered around the table for dinner, including Tony. A delivery man knocked on the door, handing Chantelle a package. When she opened it, our granddaughter's passport was inside, recounts Kathy. I inquired if they had plans to go somewhere. Before Chantelle could respond, Simon seized the passport, took it upstairs, and Chantelle swiftly changed the topic. Looking back, my husband and I regret not asking more questions. At that moment, we thought she was an adult, a mother herself, and presumed she knew better about her actions, reflects Chantelle's mother. Brazil. Upon returning to Victoria, the McDougalls received a disconcerting phone call from their daughter on the same day. She informed them that Simon had just departed for Brazil and nonchalantly mentioned that she, along with her daughter and Tony, intended to join him. In Brazil, she explained, they planned to reside in a village near the Amazon, assisting Cadwell in preparing people for the emergence of a new order. Kathy harbored deep concerns for her daughter and granddaughter, considering their imminent life in what seemed like the wilderness. "Take care of yourselves and be cautious. Write a letter as soon as you get there," urged Kathy. "Sure, Mom. I'll see you in a few months when I return to Australia. I love you," reassured Chantelle. A few days later, Katie received an emailed picture from her daughter, featuring Chantelle, Leela, Simon, and Tony standing with painted dots on their foreheads, hands folded in either prayer or greeting, saying Namaste. Over the following 3 weeks, Kathy and her husband diligently checked the mailbox daily, anxiously awaiting the promised letter. When it failed to arrive, the concerned parents took action, notifying the police of their daughter's disappearance. The McDougalls' report triggered one of the most extensive searches, spanning from Australia to Brazil. Investigation. The investigation unveiled that Chantelle was last sighted on July 13, 2007. On that day, she made the difficult decision to give her beloved Dachshunds up for adoption and subsequently drove to the neighboring town of Busselton. There, she sold a car she owned to a local dealer. Following the transaction, Chantelle entered a waiting car parked on the roadside and drove off in an undisclosed direction. The identity of the car's owner or its occupants remains unestablished. This marks the concluding piece of known information about Chantelle. A perplexing development emerged 2 hours later when $4,000 was deposited into her account, stemming from the car sale. The source of the deposit remains unknown, and the untouched funds raise suspicions. A search of the rented blue wooden cottage in Australia yielded minimal insights. Inside, investigators found a pile of unwashed dishes and, curiously, a functioning refrigerator stocked with groceries. Affixed to the fridge was a hastily written note in Chantelle's handwriting, outlining items to pack for the Brazil trip. The rushed nature of the note added an additional layer of intrigue to the perplexing circumstances. Testimony. The cottage owner, residing in close proximity, had interacted with her tenants on multiple occasions and offered a glowing description of Chantelle to investigators, referring to her as the hardest working person she knew. According to the owner, Simon would spend nights engrossed in computer activities and typically slept during the day. Chantelle, in my opinion, was an exceptionally hard-working woman and a splendid mother. She assisted me on the farm, worked part-time as a salesperson, and even provided swimming lessons to the kids. Despite her demanding schedule, she always made time for her child, attested the landlord. As for Tony, he is gay. He worked at a nearby hardware store, and everyone regarded him as a good man. I believe Simon exerted control over them and extracted money from them because they were consistently strapped for cash. He wielded complete power over them, though I don't think he would have harmed them, concluded the cottage owner. Meanwhile, as the investigation progressed, after approximately 2 months and through the collaborative efforts of Australian and Brazilian agencies, a startling revelation emerged. The police confirmed a fact that left everyone bewildered. Chantelle, Leela, Simon, and Tony had never left the Australian territory. Secrets. It was revealed that Simon Cadwell's actual name was Gary Felton, and he was of British nationality, residing illegally in Australia. The saga began in the early 1990s when Felton, having engaged in illegal activities in England, assumed the identity of a friend and fled the country. By 1992, he had established himself in India, where he encountered a woman named Deborah. Interestingly, akin to Chantelle's case, Deborah's parents had also reported their daughter missing at one point. The contrast lay in the fact that Deborah was eventually located alive and well. It turned out that she and Simon had chosen to live in a secluded Indian ashram, resembling a hermitage for religious hermits. The couple went on to have a son and relocated to Melbourne, where the then 35-year-old Simon crossed paths with 19-year-old Chantelle. Their cohabitation as a trio commenced shortly thereafter. Around 2000, they moved to Western Australia and settled in a beach house. Subsequently, another young woman joined their unconventional family, and a year later, Chantelle gave birth to a daughter. Constant jealousy and disputes among the three Simon enthusiasts led to the departure of the other women. Chantelle, being the most resilient and persistent, remained. The couple, along with their daughter, established residence in Nannup, and 6 months later, they were joined by their mutual friend, Tony Popick. The man on the train. Police investigations revealed that a few days subsequent to Chantelle's pivotal phone call to her parents, an individual wielding Tony Popick's ID boarded a train from Bunbury to Perth. Upon arrival in Perth on the same day, this person appeared at Perth Backpackers Hotel, reserving a room for two under the guise of Tony Popick. Interestingly, hotel staff did not observe anyone entering his designated room. The following morning, the same individual hailed a cab to Perth East Station. Upon reaching the station, he purchased a ticket to Calgary, but under the name J. Roberts. Subsequently, no traces of either J. Roberts or Tony Popick could be identified. Authorities believe that this person could be either Tony Popick or Gary Felton Simon Cadwell. Considering Simon's history of identity theft, the latter might have employed this method to elude capture once again. What happened to them? 15 years have elapsed since the enigmatic disappearance, during which the police, albeit at a sluggish pace, continued their investigation. To their credit, Australian law enforcement unearthed intriguing details. Several months before the collective disappearance, Chantelle's former boyfriend, who had harbored secret feelings for her and remained hopeful of winning her back, discovered Simon's false identity. Threatening to report him to the police, the ex-boyfriend posed a significant threat to the leader of the internet cult, who had much to lose. It appeared that Chantelle was oblivious to her boyfriend's true identity, given his considerable influence over the household inhabitants and adept manipulation, which facilitated his rise to cult leadership. Subsequently, revelations emerged about Simon's long-standing financial frauds and the plagiarism of his book. Piecing together these facts, the police leaned towards the unsettling possibility of a mass suicide. In his internet sermons, Simon had mentioned suicide multiple times, even confessing to considering ending his own life, along with those of his wife and daughter. However, he later altered his plan, opting for a life of isolation with his family. Noteworthy is Simon's eccentric and peculiar behavior, such as burying magnets in his garden to purportedly reflect magnetic waves when an electric pole was installed near his house. Such idiosyncrasies leave room for speculation about the fate of this enigmatic individual. Despite Simon's control over Chantelle and Tony, no accusations of violence were ever directed at him, and he was generally perceived as an amiable person. Strange behavior, however, does not necessarily equate to a propensity for murder. The fate of these individuals remains a mystery. Speculations range from living in the jungles of Brazil to the grim possibility of not finding them alive. The intricate web of circumstances surrounding their disappearance invites contemplation, yet definitive answers remain elusive. I hope you liked this story. Please don't forget to leave a comment sharing with your thoughts below. Give a thumbs up this video and remember to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more captivating stories. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey, and we'll see you in the next video.